and they looked at the well. They stood there. They said, "Nope, we see nothing." And they walked away. Now, when we first started this, I had Officer Gibbons. And he went out there. He, went out there with my father. He got the first well dug.
I was going to say, they actually dug up a well.
They did. They dug up that first well. And the weird part to it is they found 5 pairs of girls' saddle shoes.
Right.
Girls, not women's. They were a smaller size.
Girls.
Women's, you're thinking like 7, 8, 9 for size. These were like 4s, 5s. So these were, younger, younger girls. And you would think that would be enough, knowing that Nathan was a pedophile. Nathan went to prison. The family, anybody that you ask in the family, if you said to anybody in the family, could Nathan have done this?
Every one of them said absolutely.
Every one of them will say absolutely. If you ask, could Bob done this?
Everyone says absolutely not.
Right. So, I'm not quite sure, if the cops are getting it confused or people are getting it confused because now we have to explain the relationship between Barry and your dad. They were pretty tight there for a while,
Oh,
right?
yeah. From what I understand, they were best of friends.
They were brother-in-laws. They were brothers,
right.
And then Nathan and Bob were brothers, and I heard they were thick as thieves. Not literally, but they were close. So yeah, maybe, looks can be deceiving, and maybe that puzzle piece doesn't quite fit in exactly where they think it fits in. But they're just shoving it in there because your father passed away.
Well, yeah, and that was, you and I spoke just after he passed away. We were in the car. We were in the car when I got the news, which still upsets me, by the way, because when I left the hospital that day, the doctor and I were going to talk Monday for a new game plan for my dad because he needed a tap put in to drain some fluid. And Robin decided after I left, that's it, we're pulling the plug.
It was 4 hours.
It couldn't have been timed any better because we had already made it up to D.C.
Right.
When I got the call, you need to get here quick. There's nothing I can do. I'm in D.C.
Right, and there was no way I could turn around.
And I just, that was very poorly done on her part.
That was very purposely done on her part.
To me, she killed him.
We weren't even home with the car ride when I had gotten a message about something about your father, right? Like we weren't even home from the drive
yet.
And
that's what I said. I said, now my father's dead. Watch, they've solved every case.
And we weren't even home. And honest to God,
it's amazing how quickly when somebody loses when people perceive that they've lost their voice, that they try to pin everything on him.
Right.
Because, he can't stick up for himself now.
Right.
We can just pile it on.
Right.
But my dad still has a voice.
Right.
And that's me.
Right.
I want people to know who my dad was. The type of guy he was, the things he did.
Right.
That's important.
Right.
Because he's not the monster that some people want him to be.
Right.
Unfortunately, he was married to one.
He was married to one.
So, and it's funny that now the state cops have asked, well, do you think Robin could have?
Did they ask that question? Because they haven't asked me that question. No, did they ask you that question?
No, he said that the day we were in the station.
Who said that? Hathaway?
Hathaway.
Oh, well, Hathaway might be one of the smarter ones because,
But nobody's gone and questioned her.
No.
So, But here's, maybe I'm mean when I say she killed my dad, but.
But when we went through that box,
my dad should have had better care.
Well, yeah.
And she didn't care for him at home properly, so he kept getting infections and kept having to go to the hospital, and that he succumbed to a lot of that.
But can we talk about the box for a minute? Can we go to this box? Okay, so back years before,
So it started with an affair.
Whose affair?
Robin's.
So Robin had an affair.
Robin has had an affair going on, man, since
About
the
2001?
90s.
90s? Really?
I would say late 90s.
Okay.
I was already out of my dad's house. I was living in Enfield. I may have even already been married.
When he found out about the affair.
Well, yeah, what happened was the family bank account got cleaned out and Robin disappeared. And I got a frantic call from my dad. And had no clue what's going on. And Robert and I were able to figure out passwords and break into things. And
So you broke into her
Let me
computer.
back up. Yeah, let me back up. I love my dad to death. But the smartest person in the world for computers, not him.
Not.
I'm not sure the man knew how to turn one on. Okay? Could do anything he wanted with his hands, could work on a car or whatever. But not gonna turn on a computer. That's just not who he is.
Right.
He had a Facebook page that Robin set up where he would look for the banks that he collected, but it was really her looking for the banks that, and she would show him. He just wasn't a computer guy.
So she wiped out the account.
Yeah, all the money's gone. Now, my dad was still working at the time. So it's before he retired. And she took off to Texas. Well, she told him, she called him and said, I'm going to visit a friend. And gave him some name. I forget the woman's name. But we, in fact, ended up breaking into the computer through passwords. And we came up with his name.
Why did she
Not only did we come up with his name and address and phone number, we called the cops down there because we didn't have his phone number at the time. We just had an address. And we sent them over there to tell her to call home.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
So she was caught.
Oh, she was caught dead to rights.
So what did she say about the money?
Well, that was a conversation between her and my dad. I don't know.
Now, why do you think your dad stayed with Robin for so many years? Do you think?
It's funny, I asked my dad that.
Yeah, what did he say?
My dad's health was failing already. He was, he was getting older. And his statement to me was, I don't want to be alone. I'm afraid to be alone.
Yeah.
And that's what he said.
No, let's go back to that box for a minute. Because, so you guys collected all this information.
No, we didn't.
Who did? Him and...
That was my dad.
Okay, so your dad
My
collected...
dad, and I don't have the box, my brother Robert does. My dad gave Robert this box and said, you need to hold on to this.
Right. So, we unfortunately didn't get to the box first.
No.
Debbie and Ann
Correct.
got to
So
the
there's
box.
some things that are missing that I wish were there that I'll never really know what was there.
Right.
For instance, there was a VHS tape.
I know. And
Now, I've asked Aunt Debbie for it. She says, oh, there was nothing on it. It was empty.
I asked Aunt Debbie for that too.
But there's a reason my dad would have put it in that box. So there's just things in the box that,
well, there was odd things in the box
He decided
too, right?
he needed to put to one side.
She had a list of names and social security numbers.
Oh yeah.
Your mom, when looking on the internet, will come up in Dayton, Texas. Roberta will come up living in Dayton, Texas. And isn't that where her boyfriend lives? Isn't
Yes.
it Dayton, Texas?
Yes, we've actually done a lot of searches on some of these social security numbers, and the state police says they'll get to them. They want to look into them.
I would have thought that Social Security was stealing somebody's Social Security number and
Would be
putting
illegal.
out. It's surprising me these days to what's not legal or
They
what's
say
legal
it's
or what's
illegal, and the
not.
cops say they'll get to it. But it is funny that all these social security numbers are being used in other places. Now, my sister Roberta's social security number has been used in Dayton, Texas, and it's been used in North Carolina. But my sister never lived in either one of those places. My sister died
Right.
when they lived in Stafford.
So I have a letter here. One of the letters that came from the box.
Okay.
Okay, so I've sent you there for a couple times for that box, right? Like when you went down there, I asked you, can you just grab, you took pictures of it and you grabbed this letter. And it says, "Hey sexy guy, I'm envious. It looks so nice and organized down here. Do you ever think it will ever be as efficient upstairs? I doubt it. Do you hire out? How much? Take coupons, offers, anyone? I appreciate you letting me store stuff in here. The old jelly cabinet, great idea. Now, I got a terrific idea. When IRS comes in, I want you to take $250 and go fishing for a wonderful day or weekend. I don't care. On the end or majority or whatever runs out of Niantic now.
Modular.
Oh, okay. Only one thing. I don't want to go. It has to be a guy thing, okay? Go. Okay, so, anyways, this is a letter from Robin, and she's talking about the IRS. So, obviously, it's somebody that she's working with that, you know what I mean, she's kind of corresponding with. And I had also had another letter, talking about the IRS coming in.
This one almost seems like she's talking to my dad.
Your dad went deep sea fishing?
Yes.
Did they get audited by the IRS? I mean,
Well, not that I'm aware of, but there's no dates on it.
no, but and that was the other thing. There was a
So
one
it
in there
doesn't-
that talks about Valentine's Day.
So it doesn't look like, if I were to read this, it doesn't look like she's married to this person.
Right.
It doesn't look like she's living with the person.
Right.
Because she ends this as, got to go now, dishes are calling. Just wanted you to know I love you. Signed with a R.
Right.
So, that would tell me she's in her own place. Maybe she visited his place, now she's home.
Right.
So the fishing part tells me it could be my dad, but none of the other stuff.
None of the other stuff. No. It sounds like the IRS is coming in and she wants this person to go away so she can handle it. That's
Well-
what it sounds like to me. And
It wouldn't surprise me that there's something crooked going on there with money.
I mean, well, she did get caught for embezzlement and
That's
in the
where
state
I'm
of
going with
Ashford,
that.
right?
Right.
Like she
So
did.
it wouldn't surprise me that years earlier she would have done something crooked with money either.
Right.
Because obviously she's, that's who she is.
Right. But you say, when I was there and I know, this is what happened where she, basically pulled the plug on your father. But that one of the letters in the boxes talks about how much in love she was and that there was only 33 more Valentines until they could be together. Now, where's Robin right now?
Well, the last I heard, she was living with her boyfriend.
In Texas.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
I mean, if you go from 2001 to, how many years? It's been, 3 years since your father has passed?
Yeah.
So, what would that be? Would that be 33 years right
No.
around? No?
No, because we're at 2020 now. So that would be 20 years. But remember, she knocked him off, so she did it a little early.
What if she was seeing him a little bit earlier, though?
Oh,
And we
that's
don't
true.
know about
We
that.
don't know. I mean, I only know as far back as the phone call from my dad when she took off.
In 2001, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know. It could have been 98. It could have been,
Right.
but somewhere in that vicinity. I know they were living in Stafford at the time. So. But how long was it going on? Who knows?
Right. So I don't
mean-
know. As all this stuff is coming out and everybody's saying all this stuff, you know, what is the one thing that you would want people to know? Like,
Well, I certainly want people to know my dad wasn't capable of committing crimes like people want to accuse him of.
right,
That wasn't who he was. You know, and I want people to understand that there's, you know, we still need help figuring out who did this.
right,
We need to know, you know, if there's anybody out there with information on who hurt my mom,
right.
we
And,
need
and,
that.
and you've said this in the past.
Where is Aunt Irene? We need to know that.
Right, and you've said this in the past. If somebody comes up with factual information, you'll accept it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I mean,
But nobody to this day has come up. They've come up with speculations.
Right.
They
And
they
that-
can put
that's what I've told the guy that wrote the book. I
yeah.
told him that as well, and then he didn't.
Wait.
He didn't fact check anything. He just
Wait,
didn't care.
he wanted to know how important it was. If he made your father to be the oldest La Rosa out of all
well,
of them.
it's
And I said, but wait a minute. I said, he's not the oldest. And I said, he's not the oldest boy. And he's not
nor
the
the
oldest,
oldest child.
nor the oldest child. I said, you know, so when you talk about the oldest La Rosa son, you might want to get it right. Because
Right.
if you said that out and about to somebody
Because
and
the oldest
said,
La Rosa's son was
yeah,
a
what
nut
about
job.
that La Rosa, that oldest La Rosa son? They would have been like, oh my God, that guy was absolutely
Right?
crazy.
I mean, he got thrown out of the Marine Corps for trying to strangle his superior officer.
right. He
I mean,
molested.
he was a nut job.
He molested his girls. He had 2 girls,
Yeah, went
correct?
to prison for that.
He married Margie, was
Yeah.
it? And then Bertha, And-
yeah.
and then Bertha, and he went to prison for Bertha's children.
Yeah.
And yet nobody
So, yeah.
looked at.
So yeah, it was important for him to get those details straight.
It was. I kind of chuckled. I said, "Excuse
So
me."
and now with this next guy here, this guy that's coming out with this story,
Yeah.
he hasn't come out with it yet, so we don't know how factual it is or whatever.
No, but,
But-
didn't it?
But I
wasn't
tried
it,
to explain to him, you know, if you come up with concrete evidence, I'll sit and listen to you.
right. And he promised.
Well, he promised he was going to sit down and talk to me before it ever came out,
Yeah.
but it comes out tomorrow, and I've not heard from the guy. So, you know, that didn't do me any good. So,
No.
but hopefully the facts are straight. But again, is the evidence concrete?
We don't know yet, right?
Well, if you did, I mean, I've already talked to the state police, and I listened to this 2-minute interview or interval thing about what's coming out tomorrow, and it almost sounded like he wanted to make it sound like it was case closed.
Right.
But I've talked to the police, and they told me no, it's very much an open case.
Well, that's
So-
good. But they're not really actually willing to do
They're not doing
anything.
much.
They're not much.
Okay,
You're
they're
gonna
not-
give them that much credit? Are you kidding me? You're gonna give them that much credit? Come on now.
Okay, they haven't
No,
done
I'm
anything in a
sorry.
while.
Like, and it's funny because I can be the most kindest, most gentlest person, you know. I'm a hospice aide. I'm loving. You know, I have angels all around me at all times, right?
Or you could be Tina with no filter.
But I'll tell you what, when that you look at me and tell me basically you don't care and that you're not gonna do anything about it, but yet you're collecting a paycheck every single week to do nothing, and then she had the audacity to tell me, well, we have all these other cases. I said, well, sweetheart, pick up your phone, return your phone calls. You might be able to solve these cases. No?
Well, the sense of urgency on these cases should take precedent. And I'm not saying that somebody else who just died or something just happened should be put on the back burner. That's
Well,
not
yeah,
what I'm
no, we
saying.
don't want that for any family, you know, but
But these cases now are so old, and you and I are the youngest in the family.
right.
And we're not getting any younger, right?
Oh.
I mean, I won't tell them how old you are, even though but I'm 46.
Oh yeah, you're 46?
Well, I'll be 46 in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, it was nice being the same age as you for a little while, but I won't tell them how old you are. But once we're gone,
That's it.
nobody else is going to sit down and talk about
And I'm
this.
very fearful that, something's going to happen to Aunt. I mean, Aunt Claudette worked hard back in the day.
Yes.
Aunt Claudette has a right to know. She loved her sister. She tried to help her sister. And, for Robin to say that, she didn't look, she didn't care, nobody looked, nobody cared. I mean, that's just wrong. So for Aunt Claudette's sake, I would hope this would be solved before something
Absolutely.
happens to her.
The unfortunate thing is the one person that should have cared didn't.
Meme?
Yeah. This should have been
And when I
taken
asked
care
Aunt
of years
Kathy
ago.
that question, because Vicky disappeared at the age of 17, and
Yeah, there's an article about them looking
yeah,
for
she
her.
was looked for,
But
and,
remember, Pepe was around then.
and that's what Aunt
And that's
Kathy
the-
said. Pepe was around,
That's the key.
and if Pepe was around,
If Pepe was around when Reedy went missing, I'm sure we would not be sitting here maybe talking about Reedy today.
right?
But unfortunately, that didn't happen that way.
Right. So we're stuck. We're stuck with this, thing coming out tomorrow. And we don't know what narrative it's going to play. But
We'll
we're at
see.
least looking to, because I don't think that Robin's going to be talked about.
No, from what I heard, she wouldn't talk to the gentleman and said, I'm getting a lawyer.
No, she did talk.
Okay.
She of course talked.
Oh, why wouldn't she?
Can that woman not open her mouth? Of course she talked. And she tried to say, what drugs everybody was on, and everybody's like crackheads, and, maybe some family members smoked a little pot back in the day, but, we couldn't all be psychological and crazy like Robin.
But what's my problem? The hardest thing I ever did was cigarettes.
You were raised by Robin.
Oh, that is a problem.
That was a problem. That was definitely a problem. But,
So she goes on to tell me that I was never a fireman.
oh yeah? I actually
I don't
I was
know
actually in the firehouse and seen the
So,
pictures.
so I'm
and
not really
stuff.
sure what I was smoking because I have some
Give
memories.
me some
I know,
cheese.
right?
Ugh.
So it was great for somebody to tell me what careers I haven't had.
Right. So I mean, I understand that, so we're gonna let this come out. We're gonna let it be said, but our problem is that Robin's not being talked about. Robin lawyered up, and in my eyes, you lawyer up, you're guilty as.
Well, I think Barry and Robin need to be questioned, and why people just. I'm not sure what everybody's afraid of to go ask two people questions.
Right.
I mean, what are we afraid of? Ask questions.
Right.
If you have nothing to hide,
Right.
answer the questions, take lie detector tests, whatever. I mean, my dad wasn't afraid of it, he took 3.
Right.
Obviously he knew he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And their lie detector says he didn't do it.
Right.
So for any other narrative to come out now and say otherwise would kind of be stupid, but.
Yeah, no, I don't think they actually. I would hope that they really can't, but
But you never know.
But the surpriseness to not looking at Robin, I think, is what is startling us the most, right? On why we're sitting
especially
down
because we keep
today,
hearing from people, no, she was already there. No, she was already there.
right?
So
Your mother's clothes were moved out within the week. Robin's
of
clothes
course,
was
my
moved
dad's
in.
gone, so I can't ask him because I would ask him point blank,
Right,
but he's not with us,
right.
and he's not with
But
us because of Robin.
and I'm in my defense, he was okay. He wasn't in perfect health back when I started this. He was in okay health. And he could have come out and said something. Even then, he could have, ended it all right then.
He
and
could have.
said something, and he didn't. He just left it. You know what I mean? He knew I was looking for her, right? Because even if it was Robin in that conversation, Robin of course told him that I was disrespecting him and all of that because he said something to you.
But I don't know if he even knew about the conversation between you and Robin.
No, but they knew he knew what the contents of it was. He knew that I had started a search for Rini.
Right. See, my dad was I just hate to think of it this way, but maybe a prisoner in his own home. So I would talk to my dad very infrequently. Because when I'd call, I'd get, he's sleeping. We can't talk either. And when Robin would go pick up one of her boys from work.
We're over an hour. I don't want to do that actually. Because we can start it and stop it.